Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today we're taking a look at chapter 1-4, and we're going to work on using order of operations to simplify expressions. Remember to record your homework scores from the previous sessions. So let's talk about order of operations. What is it? Why do we need it? Well, if you think about a problem like 4 minus 3 plus 12, we've got two ways we could solve this if we don't think about order of operations. So, option 1, I could do 4 minus 3 is 1, plus 12 is 13. Or, I could do 3 plus 12 is 15, and 4 minus 15 is negative 11. So we have just demonstrated the reason why we need an order of operations. Do we start with subtraction or do we start with addition? Because we get two different answers, we have to have a rule that tells us what to start with. So the rule is PEMDAS. Starting with the P, any parentheses or grouping symbols, brackets are grouping symbols, the fraction bar is a grouping symbol. It means we do what's on top of the fraction bar or on the bottom before doing the fraction bar. Then we've got E, exponents. Then we've got the tricky one. And the way I like to tell people about M and D, the two that come next, is that they are in love. Okay, so they come together. We're going to perform operations from left to right. So whatever is written first is performed first. So in this case, 4 divided by 2 is written first, so we do division first. Same thing with our dear friend addition and subtraction. They are also in love. So they happen together in order from left to right. Okay, so let's apply this. Just a side note, I know we're still getting used to each other. Remember, you should take notes in your notebook. I highly recommend you write anything down that you're not sure about. And you should be trying examples with me as I'm doing them in the video. Okay, so real quick, let's refresh ourselves on what exponents are. We may use exponential notation to write products in a more compact form. Which number is the base, the 2 or the 5? If you said 2, you are correct. That is called the base. And the 5 is called an exponent. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 can be written as 2 to the 5th power. So 4 to the 2nd power, or 4 squared, is really 4 times 4, which is 16. 3 to the 4th power is really 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which is 81. And 9 to the 1st power is just 9, so the answer is 9. Okay? Now, feel free to use your calculator to solve exponents, but as we're solving these order of operation problems, I expect to see work in your notebook, in a quiz, on a test. You should show just as much work as I do when I'm showing you an example. So, we're doing our dear friend PEMDAS. So I'm going to write it down there as a reminder for myself. I'm going to start with parentheses. In this first example here, I don't have any parentheses, but I do have an exponent. So that becomes 6 divided by 3 plus 25. Then I need to look for any multiplication or division. I need to do division. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And final answer, do my addition, 27. Why don't you push pause and try that second example by yourself? Alright, so if you know this, we are starting with parentheses here, and this fraction bar means that everything on top has to be solved before I can divide it by what's on the bottom. So I need to simplify that first. I'm following PEMDAS still, so multiplication and division will come first. So this is 6 plus 3 divided by 3 squared. 6 plus 3 is 9. I need to also simplify whatever's on the bottom before I can do the division. So 3 squared is 9. Now I can do the division. 9 divided by 9 is 1. Let's do another example. Okay, what you see here are the absolute value symbols. They are grouping symbols. So they come in at the P parentheses. So I'm going to solve that first. I get 1 plus 7 minus 4 is 3 plus 3 squared divided by 8 minus 5. Now that fraction bar tells me I have to solve everything on top and everything on the bottom before I can do division. So looking at the top, I'm going to start with my exponents. That's 1 plus 3 plus 9. And on the bottom, 8 minus 5 is 3. Add all that stuff together, that gives me 4 plus 9, which is 13, divided by 3. I cannot divide 13 by 3, so I'm going to leave my answer as a fraction because my original problem has fractions in it. You always want to take a look at your original problem when deciding whether your answer should be a fraction or a decimal. Your answer should never be a decimal unless there are decimals in the problem. The default is fractions. So you will leave your answer as a fraction unless there are decimals in the problem. Why don't you pause the video and try this last one. Okay, so let's see if you got it. You need to do the inside parentheses first. Inside those parentheses, we've got multiplication that we need to solve first. So I'm going to continue solving that. Notice I rewrite the entire problem every time so that I can simplify as I go and not get lost as to what I'm doing. Now these parentheses here, do they mean that I need to do an operation? They mean multiplication. So in this case, these are not P parentheses, these are M parentheses. They're multiplication parentheses. So I'm looking inside these brackets. To simplify, I need to do multiplication first. So I've got 1 plus 2 bracket 35 minus 10. Continue simplifying the bracket. I'm going to move up here so I get more space. Okay, so we've got 1 plus 2 bracket 25. Again, those brackets do not mean parentheses, they mean multiplication. So I'm doing 1 plus 50, final answer 51. Take a quick look. How much work am I showing? I expect to see that amount of work in your notebook from your homework that is online. Alright, let's look at something else. We've talked a bit about evaluate over the last couple of days with our warm-up. So this is your final chance to try to understand this. It means to solve, not solve, substitute, and then simplify. And simplify means to get rid of all possible math that you can do. So 3y squared is going to be 3 times 4 squared. In order of operations tells me that I need to do 4 squared first. So that's 3 times 16, which will give me 48. Alright, why don't you pause the video and try example B by yourself. So we're going to substitute in 4 for y and 1 for x. We're going to do multiplication first, and that gives us an answer of 7. Alright. Final thing I want to mention, determining whether something is a solution. So, in order for something to be a solution, it needs to successfully fill in the equation via a true statement. So we're determining whether negative 7 is a solution for x, for this equation. So instead of x, I'm going to put in negative 7 plus 23 equals negative 16. I need to simplify both sides of the equation to determine if it's true. So negative 7 plus 23 gives me 16. Is that equal to negative 16? No, it is not. Negative 7 is not a solution. Okay, so homework tonight, you're to do some practice on MyMathLab. Please remember that as you are solving each problem, if you get it wrong, it will give you another problem and you should try again. Don't just get it wrong and give up. Use the help me solve this. Use the look at an example. See if you can find your mistake and get it correct. I will not give full credit for your homework if you get below a 65%. So make sure you do the problem over and over until you get it. If you're having trouble, come see me in office hours. I'm also worried about people taking advantage of my no late work policy. If at the end of this unit I find that students are not being responsible, I will change this policy. So make sure that you're getting your work in as much as possible on time.